Sydney, which is where I'm based. It's a pleasure to bring this session to you today. And what I'd like to do is just introduce myself first of all, and then I'll pass around the group. And you see we have a co-host, a special surprise, which is Americo, but I'll allow him to introduce himself later. So James Bawtree, I've got 20 years experience in strategy implementation. So that's your full P3, so project, program, and portfolio management. I run a consulting company, and we specialize in helping executives deliver their strategies through program management. And that includes setting up PMOs, running PMOs, reviewing PMOs. Probably the biggest PMO I've set up was for Department of Defense, and this was this year. And they had a $1.2 billion ERP program. So we helped establish the PMO, created a project management tool that the PMO operates on, and made sure that we established their battle rhythm, as we called it. So over to Americo, if you'd like to introduce yourself. You probably don't need to the group, but please do.
Welcome, everyone. So I'm Americo Pinto. I'm chair of PMO Global Alliance. In fact, I've been leading PMO Global Alliance since 2017, when it was founded by me, right? But before that, I started my career 23 years ago. Usually, most of the time as a consultant. In the last 20 years, very focused on PMOs. That's why I have a passion about the topic, and so I own a consulting company in Latin America that implemented dozens of PMOs, and because of that, I met many people, not only in Latin America but around the world. My research was on PMOs in the last years, and so that's a topic that really, excites me, and it's incredible how new things we can learn about that when we start to watch what the PMOs are doing around the world. So it's a great pleasure to be with you today, and you are the stars of this conference, right? And I believe that we can have a very interesting conversation and exchange some ideas and provide some insights for our audience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Americo. And over to you, Mark.
Great. Thanks, James, and thanks, Americo. So Mark Simister, I'm head of program delivery at Sydney Water. I've been involved in program delivery, program management about 25 years, and I've been worked in a range of jurisdictions. So I've been working with Sydney Water for the last 6 years as heading up, as I say, capital infrastructure program delivery, and we've just from July this year moved into a new model, so that'll be something lovely to go and talk about later. But spent a lot of time working globally. So I've been I worked in the UK for water utilities for a few years, and then got into the telecoms and infrastructure sector, and then got the opportunity to relocate with my family to Asia Pacific, and took an opportunity of consulting here, and that has been a great chance to, for the last 14 years, to be working globally throughout Asia, throughout North America, into Africa as well. And it's been a journey that's really taken me along discovery about what program management, portfolio management, and project management is, and how PMOs are a real opportunity to crystallize, I think, skills and crystallize support for organizations to effectively deliver. So there's there's a lot of ideas and a lot of passion that people have for PMOs, and hopefully we'll get that across today, because I'm a massive advocate of how a PMO can add value to a business.
Great, thank you, Mark. And definitely we'll definitely touch on those things if I've got the power as the host. So I'm definitely planning on touching those things. And last but obviously not least is Abdallah. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as well, please.
So first, thank you for this huge initiative. It's a very pleasure for me for participating with you in this session. So I'm Lalmi Abdallah. I'm a strategic PMO. I'm from Algeria first, exactly in Constantine, in the east of Algeria. So now I'm a PMO, strategic PMO in SCC, Salt Data Comfort, which is specialized in HVAC, HVAC work. In the same time, I'm a PhD student in project management, in the project management field. And then now we opted to prepare a new subsidiary in with Salt Data Comfort, which is consultancy in project management.
Very good.
Great, thank you. And yeah, one of the key things that obviously coming through here is the global sort of aspect of this incredible awards and this conference. And I learned before we actually came live in this session that Lalmi has, this is his third language. So he has Arabic as his first language, French as his second, and now English as well. So that's definitely a very key skill, I think. And we also learned a key skill from you, Americo, that you had a little bit of an acting career before you started in this journey. So I look forward to exploring that in a little bit of detail later on. So what I'd like to do is I've got some pre-canned questions that I'd like to get through. And obviously, the conversation is just going to cover around some of the topics. The first topic that I thought would interest everybody is the lessons. So if I can start with Mark, please. So what lessons have you learned on your PMO journey? So you mentioned you've had sort of 20, 25 years working in supporting PMOs. So just tell the audience, what have you learned along the journey?
Oh my God, I don't think we've got enough time for all of it. I've learned how to make a lot of mistakes. Is the number one thing. What I've really picked up is that as much as we can, I think I've got a bit of OCD, so obsessive compulsive, and I think that's why people get into project management and PMOs, because they like things to be tidy. We like organization, we like things to be streamlined, we love process, and we love things to be effectively delivered, and that's why we get into this sort of world. But the tough thing I've really learned is it doesn't run like that. It's as much as you can look for straight lines, as much as you can look for everything to be established and set up perfectly, it just does not happen in that way. And the important thing for a PMO to be able to go and do depends how you structure your PMO. It depends how the PMO's job is within an organization. A lot of organizations have a directive PMO, and their job is to deliver, to do the work. Other organizations just have PMOs just to do reporting and passing data and information through to executives to go and make a decision, or to get visibility about how things are working within a business. So, I've really learned that there's as many different ways that you can design and structure and build your PMO, but there's equally within that, as much as people think that putting this PMO in place is going to be, it's going to give me everything and it's going to be all the answers and everything will be clear. It's not, and we've got to be. You have to recognise that in delivery of any sort of schemes, and I've been involved in most of my schemes are multi-billion. The latest infrastructure program that I've just awarded is a 10-year, $10 billion framework. And when you put these sort of things in place there, and you recognise the amount of moving parts that are going to be part of this, it is not going to be plain sailing. It is not all going to go in a straight line. So be prepared for challenges. And be prepared to set up a team, set up a structure that can move with the punches and can roll with how challenges and difficulties happen. Because I think a lot of organizations, the senior executive will be looking at a PMO to give them the answers. And I think what needs to happen is that businesses need to recognize that if it's not a directive PMO that is delivering and doing everything, actually it's just giving you the power to make effective decisions at the right sort of time. And that's what they've got to be looking at. It's not the panacea, it is not the answer to everything. It is an amazing tool, an amazing approach that can, I think, arm and tool executives with the right amount of information to make the right decision at the right time. They just have to know how to tap into that and use it. So I've learned this. So there's multiple different structures to this thing. Everyone's, every conference you go to, and there's going to be another idea and another structure that people look at as for PMOs. Like I say, I've learned they're all different. They all have their own part and their own place, and it's about putting the right place, the right sort of PMO in place for the right business, for the right type of delivery that you're looking to go and put in place.
I totally agree. And just picking up on you're talking about the right information to make the right decisions. In my mind, my thinking sort of data-driven decision making, and in my view, PMOs are absolutely essential to that. And often organisations obviously really struggle with making informed decisions. They make very much subjective decisions because they've got either the wrong data or no data. So they make a decision based on gut feel or instinct, and often those aren't necessarily the best decisions. So, Abdullah, what about yourself? What are the lessons you've learned along your PMO journey?
Yeah. So, especially in Algeria, before talking on the PMO, we should first talk about project management. Because here in Algeria, there is no project management culture. So our first mission is introducing the project management. What is project management? The necessity, utility of the PMO cells, the added value, delivery value. And the second time, we should talk about the PMO. So for me, the most important thing is to be ready to live everything you know. Try it and know, and be ready to accept new changes.
Mm-hmm.
In a limited
Absolutely.
time. Yeah. Especially in our case, because there's a lot of changes. And the majority of the staff didn't accept the idea of PMO. Why we should adopt a PMO? We can achieve our objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Because the majority of our clients here in Algeria, we can extend the deadline for the majority, especially in construction projects. So they don't look the necessity of the PMO. So that's why the first step was assist the project managers in construction sites, filling out the templates and the documents in order to feel the necessity of the PMO and the added value.
And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? The added value. And often my experience is PMOs don't last that long normally. So often a PMO will be created and then typically it expires within 18 months to 2 years. And often when I'm in organizations reviewing and ask, so what happened to the PMO? It's about adding value or not adding value. And they haven't sold their services. So they haven't really thought about the customer and thought about, what would benefit the customer, what can we do for the customer? And this is the internal customer, the project managers, the sponsors, etc. What are your views, Americo? What have you seen?
Yes, that's a good question, because first of all, I fully believe that PMOs are totally different. If you take 10 PMOs around the world, you're going to find 10 different structures, objectives, goals, challenges. They are so different. Maybe the only thing that they really have in common is the name, PMO. Sometimes not even the name, right? Because there are many creative names too for PMOs. And so it brings a first challenge that is, okay, it's not possible to copy, right? People talk a lot about benchmarking, but benchmarking for PMOs is something that if you don't know how to do it, you can try to use a solution that fits for someone in your all challenge, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you have to create your own solution. You know, a very successful PMO in another company doesn't mean that if you try to copy it for your company, everything will be fine. No, actually not. So that's the first point, because when we talk about project management, that's something that we can do. If you know someone that manage risks or manage scheduling or manage stakeholders very well, you can understand what they are doing and say, okay, from now on, I'm going to do like this. Great, you're going to get results with that. But PMOs are different. They are a more complex phenomenon. And the point is, when you can't understand that, if you are a PMO professional, that's what I see, hundreds of times in many different places. If you are more focused on what you believe that should be done than what your organization really needs, usually you can't find a way to keep an alignment of expectations, right? Because you are doing what you believe that it's important, technically speaking, because you read about that, because that's what you did in your last company, because that was you listen that someone saying in a conference. So now you're trying to do exactly that way of doing PMOs. But that's not a way that you should use in your company. So when you are not aware about that, and you are always looking for magic pills, right, to solve your problems, usually you don't have any results. And in a very short time, the PMO starts to lose value, actually, or worse, actually lose perception of value. People can't perceive the value of what you are doing. And that's why you start losing sponsorship, and in a few times, people will ask themselves, hey, why should we pay for that, right? We don't need a PMO, actually, because these guys, they are doing something nice, good, but we don't need that thing really, And so for me, the biggest challenge for every PMO is to understand that the focus is not the technique. The focus is the customer, is the stakeholder, the PMO stakeholder. If you are not aligned with what they want, what they need, probably in a few times, the perception of value about what you are doing will vanish. And that's something you really...
Definitely agree. And it's interesting, I've seen the other side of that as well, Americo, which Abdallah mentioned, maturity. So I've seen PMOs help organizations to improve their delivery maturity to the extent that they're very mature. And then the organization goes, well, why do we need a PMO? Everything's working well. And then they disband the PMO, and suddenly things start not to work very well because there's nobody helping to optimize, follow up on, the late status reports, the lack of discipline around meetings, and all the great stuff that PMOs do, optimizing the technology that's supporting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a bit of time for that loss to disappear and for the organizations to realize. And then they go, oh, we need a PMO, and then a year later they start the journey again. So what are your views, Mark? Have you seen this as well?
Yeah, but I mean, because that goes back to what we're talking about, the structure of a business and what do they think the PMO is really there for. You can either be a supportive PMO that just gives ideas and this is how you should be doing things. You can be a controlling PMO that says this is the methodology you must use. This is how you go and do it. Here's the templates. Here's the tools. Here's the procurement strategies you need to be doing when you're executing a suite of projects. Or alternatively, as I mentioned, in terms of how I generally look to structure and set up PMOs within client organizations is as a directive PMO, where actually it does the work. So if the PMO is not there, you haven't got any project managers, you haven't got any team. So that automatically brings the PMO function into being an embedded component of your delivery vehicle. So there's no way a sponsor can get rid of it, say we don't need the PMO, because the project managers, the delivery teams are the PMO.
Yes.
So there's that full suite, and it all depends on the type of organisation, because you get some very, you look at the likes of Telstra and these sort of guys out there, the big telecoms companies, and they have such massive organisations that they'll be expecting a PMO to be probably in a controlling type of approach, where they give the support and advice and guidance is there, but they give the tools, templates, techniques to the business units and leave it up to the business units to get on with their delivery. They're these huge organisations. One such as Sydney Water, where we are, it's we deliver 1.5 billion a year. So it's large for here, but on a global scale, maybe it's not that big. And that means we can be totally directive. We can take ownership, and we can put best practice into delivery at every aspect. We can be structured to have project managers that are skilled, trained, and have the capabilities to deliver their projects, but we structure it with a centre of excellence that can provide the guidance, advice, support, and structure with integrated teams, so that the project managers are supported all the way through the project delivery life cycle. And so I really think, when that's what I said, quite often people will see it and think PMO, that's going to be the answer, that's the magic thing. And it, as you say, it lasts a couple of years because they really don't necessarily see the value in it. And so I think before an organisation sets off on that journey, they need to ask themselves, what do they want to achieve? What are they hoping to see from a PMO? What's the problem they're trying to solve? Then how can the PMO help them to resolve that?
Absolutely. And I think my experience there is that they obviously need to revalidate that, like a business case in a project or a program. It's not a set and forget. So, and like we see in PMOs, often, unfortunately, they are. So the business case is approved at the start of the project, and then it runs like a runaway train until it runs out of money, or the project manager leaves, obviously. So, there's some challenges around PMOs. And my experience also in the disciplines, so you mentioned sort of Telstra, which is a large telco company here in Australia, probably the largest, I think. I also see it in mergers and acquisitions. So the PMO they're the ones that actually do the acquisition or the divestment. So to your point, Mark, they're the ones that run the program to divest or to acquire a particular company. So there's no getting rid of the PMO because they are the people. They're physically running it. And Abdullah, what do you see in the PMOs, particularly around, you mentioned construction. So is your PMO central decision making, or is it more of a supporting PMO?
So as I said, in the reality, our case, our PMO do everything. So spread the culture of project management in all the company, and supportive in some project, and making some decisions, controlling some projects. It will be directive in another projects. So it's a hybrid PMO.
How many people, Abdallah? How many people do you have in your PMO?
3.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And what about you, Mark? How many in your PMO?
200.
Yes. So there's the difference between a centre of expertise which runs everything and a supportive hybrid. So, and there's a very interesting contrast, isn't it? And I think part of the conversation we had earlier was, what are the services does the PMO provide to your organisations? Obviously, you've got 3 people. It's a very different quantity of services that you can provide versus the PMO that has 200. So that's quite fascinating, which makes me think about innovation. So and maybe Americo, I mean, this awards, global awards that we're now part of the conference, I think of this as very innovative. You've obviously been on a journey. You've seen a gap in knowledge sharing, learning from each other. That's my view on why this was created, this innovative PMO awards. But let's hear from you. Why are we here today? What's the journey? Where did the innovation come from?
Yes. When we talk about innovation, what I've been seeing on PMOs is there are two discussions. There is the discussion of how the PMO can be involved with business innovation, right? And so there are many PMOs concerned about that. How can we support innovation in our companies? This is a specific need of some PMOs, and I could say that innovation project is a project, right? Anyway, so actually, I don't see too much differences in terms of how you will support an innovation project or a marketing project, and why? Because the PMO is not supposed to be the expert in innovation. It will be only supporting an innovation project. Probably at this project, there will be people that will innovate, right, in their business. So this is a specific topic. I don't think that this one is the most complex one, actually, because it's just one more type of projects to be supported by the PMO. However, we have the innovation on PMOs, right? So what we can do differently, right? That's the point. And right now we are living a time that is, is bringing many possibilities of innovation. I say that I see two big areas of innovation. There is a big area of innovation that focus on how you are doing things, right? For example, now we're gonna have everything digital, so we work from home. We have to connect people everywhere in a different way that we did in the past. So there are many things that usually involves technology that will bring some innovation to PMO practice. Things that we did in the past in a specific way. Now we're going to have to try something different, and people are thinking about that, how they can deal with that, because the impact in the way that many PMOs work is really huge, and they have to reinvent themselves and keep the good work in the loop. There is another need that is not how you're gonna do your responsibilities as a PMO, but why and what you are doing, right? And that for me is the most important point. And why? Because the PMO that was a great success 6 months ago, pre-COVID, right? Maybe from now on, it will not bring the benefits that your organization expect anymore. And why? Because things had changed, right? So, for example, 6 months ago for my company, if you come to the president and say, hey, I'm working on the portfolio for the next 10 years. Okay, it's good. I like to know the portfolio for the next 10 years. But after the COVID, everything is upside down. Now our company is striving to survive. What we have to do is deliver the projects on cost and on time this year, because it's necessary to be able, right, to start 2021 alive. And if the same PMO come to me and say, hey, that's the portfolio for the next 10 years, I'm going to say, hey, are you crazy? In 10 years, we're going to be died. It doesn't make sense. It's not my priority anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not my priority anymore. And I pay the bill, So what I'm saying is, if you are a PMO and you can't see this kind of thing, this kind of change in terms of expectations, again, your value will not be recognized. So for many PMOs, it's difficult to be aware about what is happening around it. cause a lack of sponsorship, because people see what you are doing. Maybe technically you are doing a perfect job, but it's not what should be done. That's the point, right? So usually people that work in PMO focus too much on the technical stuff. It's okay, but sometimes it's not a matter of how you are doing something. It's a matter of what you are doing. Mark said something that actually we have been researching this in the last 7 years, because of the PMO value ring methodology that was created by leaders of our community, and this methodology tried to suggest something very interesting, because instead of creating or trusting on pre-established models of PMOs, for example, supportive PMO, consultant PMO, strategic PMO, forget all of this and create a PMO that can deliver what people expect. If today they expect something that can be a little more strategic, okay, maybe at the end of the day, we realize that your PMO could be strategic. But the PMO can be a little strategic, a little supportive, a little consultative, a little, and when you say, no, I'm a strategic PMO, you create a kind of barrier, for change, because you say, no, I'm strategic, and someone is asking you to do something very operational, and you say, no, it's not part of my job, it's not part of my job description. Come on. Yes, it's part of your job description, because now that's what they need. We say in Brazil, we usually say that if it's not illegal, it's not immoral, and it will not get you fat, you have to do it, right? There is no reason to not doing it, because if you don't do it, your work will not be recognized. So all types of PMOs, first of all, they are not proven empirically. So they don't exist actually. These types of PMOs, they are proposed by many different authors in books. That's why if you take 10 books here about PMO, you see 10 models different. Each one provides 3 or 4 or 6. Now you have something like the agile PMO. Wow, it's nice. Everybody wants to have an agile PMO. It's really cool, but it doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is we have to be recognized at the end of the day. People should see what we are doing and say, wow, it makes sense. I want these guys again here tomorrow, and it means that you have to be flexible. Sometimes you will do something that you don't believe that PMOs should be involved with that, but that's what you have to do now, because you are seeding to harvest in the future. So flexibility, I believe, is really important, in this discussion. I don't know. That's my point of view. It's a very flexible point of view.
but that's all pointed towards culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's talking about the culture of the organisation that the PMO is existing within. And if there's a culture within the organisation that is looking to the future and wants support and wants great ideas and wants innovation, and then a PMO is dynamite. That's exactly the sort of lovely place. If you want to progress, you want to take yourselves in a new direction. You've had a challenge as an organisation. That's where the PMO comes in, and because it has the ability to be broad ranging and doesn't have to be, too controlled by a business unit type of level. Exactly as Americo says, don't necessarily have to pigeonhole yourself into those sort of categories. If you recognise that you may be supportive, but you recognise the opportunity to say, actually, we can roll up our sleeves and we can get in there and help you, then that's what you should go and do. Get in there and go and do it.
And especially all of this stuff, they are like alternative solutions. You don't need to choose just one. For like agility. Oh no, I'm agile. So everything, now I don't want anymore, because now it's like religion. You need to choose one. No. Here in Brazil is a very, not a very, actually, we don't care a lot about this kind of thing, but actually it's a Christian country, and we have a lot of saints, right, in Christianism, and we usually people say that you don't need to pray just to one saint. You can pray for all of them, because your chances will be higher, right? Maybe more than one can help you, right?
Yes. And I think that's a good rule, actually. If you think about a PMO, they have multiple customers. So don't just...
Yeah, why you have to put all your bets in just one thing? No, let's try everything that makes sense, because all of them are solutions, are things that can be used or not, depending on what you want. You don't need to be radical, and think that, no, PMO should be like that. No, it's not the truth. That's why you can find a lot of standards about PMOs, because it's difficult to find a consensus. PMOs are
and it's interesting. Well, I agree, Americo. And it's interesting as a judge now, I think 3 or 4 years I've been judging the various submissions, and seeing the journey that a lot of these PMOs have had. They started off typically where Abdullah's been talking about the supportive, and then their journey has taken them to where Mark's PMO is. However, they haven't lost sight of being innovative, thinking about supporting customers, and it's an and, not an or. So they don't have to stop doing the supportive elements because they've become strategic. It's an and. And just touching on the innovation side, so one of the things that I see really effective PMOs doing is actually managing the innovation cycle. So this is a pre-project cycle, and often organizations get it very wrong. So this is ideation. So often organizations are not good at selecting which are the right projects to do. Suddenly they've got 100 projects and they're all running, and then the PMO is madly trying to stop these things. But it's like whack-a-mole. You stop one and another one pops up somewhere else in the business unit. So do you have that game, whack-a-mole? Yes, Mark does. Good. I know you do. So, and I'm thinking, Abdullah, so with, you nodded when Americo was talking about, the challenges with COVID. So have your PMO, have you changed the approach that you've taken because of COVID and the restrictions?
First of all, I'm with Americo in the bound. Every PMO has his own culture. For example, here in Algeria, when we talk about innovation in PMO, we can consider digital transformation is a really innovation, because PMO in Algeria, especially in Constantine or in Sydney or in Brasilia, it's not the same thing. So here, for example, in local companies, for example, when you talk about PMO, all the responsible who said PMO, what does it mean? So it's very difficult to do some innovation in the first step. So that's why in our PMO we have decided to go step by step. First, introduce PMO and added value. Then thinking about added value and the business and the market. So what is the things that we can do, and we can give added value for our PMO. But when we faced of the COVID, everything is changing, because don't try to confront today's problem with the same logic of yesterday. So we have tried to change some of our logic. I'm sorry for my bad English.
No, that's good. Yeah, and just on the logic, the last question, Abdullah, in this area is the use of digital. So the use of technology. Have you seen a change in how your PMO supports technology?
Yeah, of course. So we use a collaborative platform.
Mm-hmm.
We used some softwares, agile tools like, for example, Trello for managing some projects and the resources. So it's like many platforms. Staff management. So thanks to COVID.
Yes,
that's something interesting, James. I'm sorry I interrupted you,
please.
but the PMO Global Awards, one of the reasons that we decided to create the PMO Global Awards was because of African countries. Africa is too big, of course. Countries they have a lot of differences. It's impossible to treat Africa as just one group of countries because the characteristics are really different. But in Africa, in some countries of Latin America and also in some countries of Asia, there is a big potential for the evolution of project management. So you have some islands of competence in some specific countries, in some specific companies, much of the time in government, especially in Africa. But there is a big space for evolution. When we decided to create the PMO Global Awards, the model of the competition, we said, okay, we're going to have four regions, and one of the regions will be Africa. And so, for example, we have 16 countries from Europe, 16 countries from Americas, 60 countries from Asia Pacific, and 60 countries from Africa. And it's not easy to find 60 countries from Africa, 16 representatives from Africa, because, okay, maybe you have 8 countries, 10 countries that are more evolved, like Algeria, Morocco, South Africa, Angola. But when we talk about 16, it's a really big number, and it's not easy to find all these companies. And I'm not talking about because they have something really incredible to show. No, that's not the point. The point is exactly the other side of the question. It's like in the Olympics, right? Because in the Olympics, maybe you have a competitor that will finish the competition 5 minutes after the winner. But it doesn't matter, because next year it will be only 4. And in 2 years, it will be 3, And so I really believe that we have a responsibility in terms of a global community to support all these regions that are maturing. That's the point, And so we've already found very interesting cases in Africa. Last year, for example, the winner from Angola was a great technology company. This year we have ShopRite as the winner, and STC was the second place in Africa, doing a very interesting job. So we have 2 directions. In fact, we learn from what they are doing. Sometimes in a scenario that we are not used to live, to manage. For example, we had a competitor from Sudan, in the middle of a kind of civil war. It's great, right? So how can you manage a PMO in a situation like that? It's something that in Australia we can imagine, right? So this kind of thing, I really believe that we can learn from that, and also we can put the spotlight in many different places, because I have no doubt that there are many things that we can learn with STC and with the company from Nepal. We have another one from Kazakhstan. We have another one from Honduras. Honduras is the winner of the Americas, right? Bet Brazil, bet the United States, bet Canada. So it's incredible, right?
Quite amazing.
How we can learn from the world. That's what really excites me, right? Because we have a lot to learn. It's incredible.
And I can see the passion coming through, Americo.
Yes.
Absolutely. And my experience is often in organizations, it's the same thing, that you see pockets of brilliance in organizations, and often they're not given the opportunity to showcase, to talk about, what they're doing well. And I think a PMO is able to do that. What are your views, Mark? Do you sort of cherry pick best practices in sort of areas of the organization and then bring that in, or is it more central and sort of created out?
Again, it depends what sort of situation you're in. So when I was consulting, obviously it was about getting into an organization and supporting, seeing what was already there, and then being able to build upon that. When you have the luxury of being the client and you're in the organization and you're designing and designing and building your own PMO, I don't need to pick best practice and pockets and whatever. You understand what you have around within your organization, and you build and nurture what is effective and what is working. But you also get the opportunity then. It's not very often that you get the opportunity to be a PMO professional and be within a client organization. So getting the chance to be able to reach out and see what is there within the business is one, but being able to reach out to your global network, that where best practice is and the experiences you've had before, and being able to pull those in has been, that's been phenomenal for us. Especially going through this COVID piece at the moment, has been, for the last 5 years at Sydney Water, it had been about the existing framework we had in place, and it was about going on a journey of evolution for this team and taking them from being quite a new team that was struggling to figure out how they're structuring themselves, and over 5 years developing this into an amazing powerhouse, and that had delivered the best performance Sydney Water had ever seen for the last 3 years in a row, had never missed its capital program, the best health and safety, customer performance. It was phenomenal to see. And that was purely down to the PMO being able to function and reach out and get experts, use the experts that were in the organization, but pull in the other right people to support and take us on that journey. And that's been lovely. And getting that thing to be structured and developed and built and be recognized by the Major Projects Association as well as a global exemplar for program delivery was fantastic. But we recognize that coming into the future, that PMO would not be able to structure and support the scale of program we had going forwards, because Sydney Water in Australia was on a massive growth journey. Huge amount of population moving in. We're getting an extra 100,000, 150,000 customers every year moving into Sydney, and we've got to cope with that population increase. And so to be able to do that, so we had to be a dynamic P&O. We had to have a structure that would cope with that, and that meant we couldn't stick with what we had, but we also had the opportunity to reach out, looking for further global best practice, and that led us to working with the Infrastructure Projects Authority in the UK. So we work with the Chamber of Commerce and Government from the UK. We also worked with the Institute of Civil Engineers on their Project 13 initiative, which is looking at global best practice in infrastructure delivery frameworks. And we also introduced this year into Australia NEC, new engineering contracts. So a complete new way of working on contracts. So it's all about collaboration, integrated teams working together, and really trying to say that, this is the difference a PMO can make. It's not just within an organization. We're now making a difference to the entire infrastructure platform in Australia. And if we can, some of the stuff we're doing here is also being quite closely monitored globally. So this is a really great opportunity that when you get a chance to showcase, try ideas and pull in some amazing talent, and the talent I've been lucky enough to foster and get into the team and work with, it's been amazing to see how we've managed to generate the thought leadership, the innovation. We're now putting in place an entire fabric for technology. So it's we're going to have a digital spine will be the complete foundation of everything we do, from the beginning of a project to operationalizing a project. That
incredible, Mark.
Digital engineering is going to be all the way through it. And furthermore, how everyone works together with the amount of data and information we're providing on common platforms that we share with our contractors and consultants is a complete new way of functioning.
And I'm hearing lots of innovation, lots of, and also reaching out to not be arrogant about, I've learned everything. I mean, you're obviously a very experienced person, but you're reaching out to others to actually draw in that knowledge. So, we've obviously heard about innovation. We've heard about leveraging best practices. Obviously, your awards as well, and you talked about just the learnings from that. What would you like to say in sort of the last few words to those listening today?
Well, I think what I see is there are a lot of trends, interesting trends related to innovation that PMOs can try, especially when it includes technology. Digitalization, even artificial intelligence is something that some PMOs are looking for now. They don't know yet what to do with that, but maybe there is a potential, right, for the next years. So there are many possibilities. But I really believe that the most innovative thing that a PMO can do from now on, for most of them, and I know a lot of them, for most of them, the most innovative behavior that PMOs should try to have from now on is try to develop an ability of quick reaction to the changes, changes that impact the PMO and impact the organization. Don't believe that why you are doing something very well, technically speaking, is because you are successful and you will be successful forever. So that's my definition for an agile PMO. As an agile PMO should be this. Should be a PMO. Every PMO should be agile in this way, because you have to react very quickly. When you think that something has changed. It's the COVID. It was a merge in the executive level of my company. It was a change in the strategy, and maybe or probably what I'm doing will have to be adjusted, and so there are many people looking for maturity, but maturity without alignment means nothing, right? Maturity without alignment means nothing. You are really good on something that nobody cares about. So that's the point. That's the point. It's not innovation, but it's innovative in the sense that there are many people that are not aware about that. They are doing what they are doing because someone did like that. Now I'm repeating the same thing, and I still believe that that's the way that I have to do this. And PMOs are like companies, If you don't innovate, if you don't understand your client, if you don't offer new products in a different way, you will maybe try to sell great cell phones, but nobody will buy it.
Yes.
And you say, nobody can see the beauty of what I'm offering. Yes, I'm sorry. And, you can't get anything with that. You will not survive with that. So that's my opinion. I see the PMO much more as a service provider than a support area. I think as fast you can understand that a PMO is a service provider with customers, and they are your focus. If you can generate perception of value, you are dead. Just to close this thought, let me share something with you. all the time I listen people saying, "Oh, my PMO failed because we had a lack of sponsorship. You know, we lost the sponsorship, and that's why my PMO failed." No, it's not the truth. Your PMO failed not because you lost your sponsorship. It's not the cause. It's the consequence. It's the evidence. How do you dare, wanting support if you are not delivering something that they can perceive as something of value? You know what I'm saying? Of course,
Yes.
you lose sponsorship. So if you are losing sponsorship, it's not the cause of your failure. If you are losing sponsorship, it's the alarm showing you that what you are doing is not what they expect that you should do. So it's something to think about.
Totally agree, Americo. And so if I just give you my sort of views as well, just to wrap up, I think of three things that a PMO must get right. The first is purpose, being purposeful in what they do. So, and the second is people. So Mark talked about culture. So it's, if that's really important to support a culture that is a good culture for the organization, or create an effective culture, then that's what the PMO must do. The third thing that we haven't had a chance to touch on this evening, because obviously we only have a short period of time, is planet. So for me, sustainability is really important. And I think PMOs in the future will have to consider that more and more. There's the sustainability of, the planet we live on, the flora and the fauna, making sure that the services that not only the PMO provides, but the organization provides are environmentally conscious. So it's that consideration, I think, is very important.
Yeah,
so with that final sort of thought around protecting the planet, thank you very much to Abdullah, to Mark, and Americo as well. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, the connection of Abdallah felt. Anyway, thank you, James. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Abdallah. It's my pleasure to share this space with you today. And I'm very happy to count on you, Mark. Specifically, Mark is doing a great job in Sydney waters. You in the Asia Pacific final, you got Dubai Custom, and it's something because it's like a football World Cup, right? So the problem is, it's like when you get, Germany, the middle of your way, or Brazil. So that's the problem, because sometimes you just meet the one of the potential champions, for example. But you did a great job, and I suggest if you have a chance next year, maybe you can try again, right? Because, for example, Honduras was the winner of Americas this year, and they were defeated by Brazil last year, because Brazil was the winner last year, the world winner.
Okay.
And Bahrain was defeated by Hong Kong in 2018, and they came back again last year, and they were the winners of Asia Pacific. So,
we're going to be bigger and better next year.
Yeah. Sometimes in the first time we can do that, but in the second time it happens, right? But of course, it's just for fun. It's just a celebration.
Exactly.
What is really important is the learning process, and the contribution that we are bringing to the community. Thank you very much.
The learning process and the recognition of all the people that are hard working in these organizations. I think it's terrific. I really thank you for putting the whole thing together, Americo. It was a really great initiative, and very exciting, the format you put it in. No wonder you're Brazilian.
Yeah, of course. I'm Brazilian, so a competition like a football
Beautiful.
World Cup makes sense, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
fantastic.
Perfect sense, yeah.
All right. So thank you very much,
again, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a nice
Americo.
day. Bye.
Thanks.